Assalamu alaikum, all the NUSTian Canada community. As we know that we are approaching the International Women's Day, it would be celebrated on March 8th. And on this occasion, I want to bring you our very own Sumaiya Noor, one of the pillars, I would say, of inspiration. The reason I asked her to be on this kind of, I would say, podcast with me is that I want to tell you all and I want to get this message across about struggle and about inspiration and how much is possible for a woman coming from some humble backgrounds, not lavish, not super rich families, coming from humble backgrounds, how much a woman can achieve if she sets her goal and if she works hard for it. Nothing is impossible. As I will give the stage to Sumaiyya, you will know how inspiring and how amazing her story is. She will introduce herself because for me, I don't think she needs any introduction, but I guess she will tell you about how when she graduated and from what school, and then she will talk about her life and her career and her journey up till this point. And I hope that you guys will enjoy it. And I would request you all to forward it to women of your acquaintances so they can see that nothing is impossible. All you need to do is to be dedicated for what you want. So, Sumaiya, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Kiran, first of all, for having me. And I really appreciate NUSTian Canada for giving this opportunity. I think that it's really important for all of us, regardless of our genders, but especially for women, so that they can see that how other women have gone through their journeys and what they have been able to achieve or what their struggles have been, so that they can focus on their dreams and goals as well. And thanks a lot for the generous introduction. I don't think that I have achieved much so far, but it's really kind of you being generous. So Kiran, I would like to focus this conversation more on the journey itself, which I had so far across 4 continents, or in having a global career, and also supporting my family and having a personal journey on the side. And I would like to share more of these struggles or challenges which I have to go through. And the purpose of that is that many people talk about their successes, many people talk about their, achievements and everything. And that gives an impression to everyone who's listening or who's watching that probably it was so easy for them to achieve all of these things. And I cannot achieve that because I have a personal struggle or I have a personal baggage. That baggage could be of any type, personal, professional, or anything. Or I don't come from a very supported family, or I don't come from a very rich or well-off family, and that's why probably I cannot achieve that dream. So that's why I would like to focus more towards the journey or towards the challenges, so that people who listen or watch this, they can see that despite all the personal and professional challenges, you can achieve whatever little I have been able to achieve so far. And again, I strongly believe that there are so many inspirational women and inspirational people out there who have been an inspiration and continuous guidance to me. So my journey is not the ultimate one, but this is a humble effort to share it with everyone so that they can get inspired if there is any room for that.
Thank you so much, Sumaiya. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this for us. And I cannot tell you how happy I am to be talking to you. And I'm very excited that I am getting a chance to share your journey with the wider community of NUSTian Canada. I'm hoping it will go beyond that as well. So why don't we get started, and you can start with your introduction and then you can take it on from there.
Sure. So if I give a little bit of introduction, so I am a professional in talent, digital transformation, and product management domain, with approximately 12 plus years of experience across all the 4 continents. I've worked with people across all the 7 continents, and I have lived and worked in 4 continents. So it has been pretty much global and very exciting at the same time. But as I said earlier, that I would like to focus on the journey and the challenges itself. So I will start from the very very beginning. I come from a very humble background, from a middle or lower middle class family. Both my parents had their own struggles. Both are highly educated. Both my parents were working professionals. But at the same time, I don't come from a very well-off or very rich family, and I'm very proud of it. And I want people to focus there, because when sometimes people see that I went to some of the best schools in the US, I went to some of actually the best university in Pakistan. You're a graduate of the same university, National University of Sciences and Technology. I am the graduate of the same university. So they automatically assume that, oh, probably she has been given it all and she was financially really well off, or came from a family who has supported her a lot. And yes, my parents were really kind to inculcate that type of thought process right from the beginning or early age, that you have to do things at your own. And until my FSC, I was a sort of, I would say, sort of average life, protected child, not very protected, but still to a certain extent protected child. My real journey started when I started my bachelor's, because from that point onwards, like, I was completely at my own. I did my FSC in pre-medical because my parents wanted me to be a doctor. And at that point in time, because my father had a military background, so he wanted me to go to the Army Medical College. I couldn't make it because at the time when I did my FSC, there was only 5% quota for females in the Army Medical College. So I couldn't make it. And it was very devastating for my parents and everyone at home. And at that point in time, they gave up, because I was the eldest child of five children, and I have 4 younger siblings. So everyone was like, we had such dreams about you for becoming a doctor, and now you cannot be a doctor. So from that point onwards, I took the journey in my own hands. I did some research, and I was barely 16 and a half or something, because I started school very early, given that my mother was a working woman. So when I did my FSC, completed it, because in our times there was no KGs and prep and everything. So I graduated from my FSC at 16 and a half. So pretty young and very naive and very green. So I went outside and I started doing some research that now, because I cannot be a doctor, so what I can be. So from there, I picked for myself. The internet was not very common at that point in time. And to be very honest, and I would like people to focus on this, I never have used computer until I started my bachelor's in software engineering. So it's like a very green thing, that when I went to my engineering school for the first time and the instructor in the lab asked us to switch on the computer, the funny part is that I kept on switching, I kept switching on the monitor and not the CPU, because that's what I've seen in the television or movies and everything. So I was very green at that point in time, but I did my own research, talking to people and everything, and I chose that I need to go into software engineering, because that's what I would like to do if I cannot be a doctor. And anyways, becoming a doctor was not my dream. It was my parents' dream. As you know, that many parents in Pakistan have only very a myopic view of the careers which anyone can have. Initially, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I wanted to be an astronaut, or either I wanted to be a paleontologist. And when I discussed it with my parents after my FSC, they were like, Sumaiyya, you live in Pakistan. What type of career opportunities you will have in these 3 professions? And they were right at that point in time. So I'm talking about early 2000s. Then from there, I started my journey. It was pretty much at my own, like going to university every day. And I was taking public transport, unlike many people or many, I would say, pampered children. Not that my parents were dropping me out in cars or everything every day. I was managing all by myself. I was very fortunate that right from the first semester, based on my performance and GPA, I started getting a scholarship. So in that way, throughout my 8 semesters or 4 years of engineering, I was on partial scholarships, and then partially my parents funded my bachelor's. And that's how I was able to complete my bachelor's in a very nice way. Some of the highlights which I would really like to share, and it would be, now when I look back in retrospect, it's very funny, but at that point in time, when I graduated, I was 21 years old. I was turning 21 at that point in time. So, when you're young, you're more hyper, energetic, emotional. So we were only 7 girls in a class of 40 plus in an engineering batch. And it was very challenging for us to, although I have most of my life has been spent in co-education, but then it was hard for the you know that we have a certain social norms and social and cultural traditions. So sometimes it was very challenging for the guys to accept a person like me, because I've never been timid or shy. I was always at the top of my class when it came to presentations and, getting into robotics. And I actually, like, as my final project, I created a robotic arm, which could be used for prosthetics or players or later on. So like things like that. So I was pretty good in those type of technologies, using microprocessor, programming in C++, Java, assembly, using MATLAB, EWB and whatnot. So like I used to had certain, I would say, ridges at that point in time with my classmates. But now, after so many years, I graduated back in 2004, 2005. Most of them are really good colleagues or friends. And of course, we have progressed in our respective careers. From there, I wanted to have an international career right from the beginning. I discussed it with my parents that I would like to go abroad for my master's. So there were a couple of challenges. They were like, first thing which came out of my father's mouth, he was like, do you even realize that in our family, not even a guy has gone out all by himself for education, and you're a girl. I don't agree with you that you should go out and everything. And then my mother said separately that, do you even realize that we don't have that type of money that we will sponsor your education and you would be able to go abroad? And all my dreams shattered again after engineering. And because I was like a little bit, I would say, stubborn and very focused on my goals. So I told my parents, okay, if I'm not going abroad, I'm not studying any further. That's it. But then, as God has his own plans, or life has its own plans, two of my very close friends from bachelor's, they were actually applying for NUST in MBA. And they came to my house and they shared it with my parents. Of course, my parents knew about them and everything. So my father, on the last day of application, insisted that, why don't you just go and apply? Okay, you don't want to do it, but just apply. So that's how I applied for the NUST. And to cut the long story short, for the first time in my life, I never took the NUST entry test, which is on the GMAT format, or either you have to submit your GMAT scores for the business school. So I never took it seriously. I was attending my cousin's wedding, going to Karachi and whatnot. And I was like really enjoying it, because in my head, I've already decided that I don't want to do my master's or any type of education in Pakistan if I'm not going abroad. So my life and career has been is over in my head. But then as universe has its own plans, I went into I did my application. I actually got selected. And at that point in time, it was few of the initial batches for the NUST business schools. Now it has progressed pretty much a lot since then. Was a very rewarding journey, I would say. I was already technically very good, but actually in order to polish my communication skills, presentation skills, social skills, and many other skills, NUST actually gave me that platform where I further polished my skills, which enabled me and which actually helped me a lot throughout my journey, throughout my career, both academic as well as professional. From there, I was still in school. And as I said that, I mentioned earlier that I came from a humble background. So throughout my MBA, I was getting partial scholarships as well on the basis of my GPA. So that was pretty cool. And it was a lot of fun as well. So I don't want people to feel that, oh, if you have to achieve something in life, you have to be a bookworm and just focus on studies. No, I have never been a bookworm. It's just that probably in certain ways I have been blessed that whenever I set up a goal, I actually work towards it on the right time and I was able to achieve it. But I was having a lot of fun with my peers, with my batchmates, and enjoying that university life too, whatever I could do in my limited resources. From there, I got picked up, I started working in third semester of my MBA in order to support my family financially. And I then got picked up by UBL for their management training program while I was still in the fourth semester or the final semester of my MBA. And that process took a little bit of time but then for me, it was really important that I should start supporting my family. So during the time I was going through the UBL selection process, I actually joined my first job as a product manager and business development executive with international BPO, supporting the clients in UK, Canada, and US. So in a way, my dream of working internationally started materializing at that point in time. I was still based in Islamabad, which is capital of Pakistan. But I was working with international clientele. I was leading a team of 5 to 7 developers, quality assurance, and software engineers, both back end and front end. So it was a pretty exciting experience. I did started working with them while I was still going through the UBL selection process, and I worked with them for 1 year. So in the meanwhile, by mid of 2008, my UBL process finalized, and I joined UBL as well in their learning and development department as chief soft skills trainer for the entire North region. I kept on working with my BPO work as well, and I shifted it to the night shift. So that was the 6 months to 8 months period when I was working almost 19 to 20 hours every single day, because I had a full-time job in the morning, I had a full-time job at night, and at the same time, because right from the very beginning, I was the eldest of 5 kids. I was going to my younger siblings' parent-teacher meetings. I was doing or taking a lot of household chores responsibility at the home. So it's not that I was only focusing on studies or having fun all the time. No, when I used to go back home from either my work or from either university or anywhere, I was actually doing a lot of like full-time household chores responsibility as well, because my mother was a working woman. And then when I joined UBL at that point in time, unfortunately, that was the time when I wanted to, pay back in certain ways to my parents, but my father was critically ill already by that time. He was a heart patient, had a lot of other complications as well. And this was 2008, 2009 period. And my father was, for these 2 years, he was continuously in and out of CCU, mostly in CCU, but sometimes out of CCU as well. So when 2008 ended, I stopped doing my night job, which was a BPO job, and I continued with my UBL full-time job. In the meanwhile, the same thing in my head was there, that I need to have an international career. So I started thinking that how I can still have an international education without me emptying my pockets, because my parents were unable to support me, and then I was financially supporting my family. So I got to know about Fulbright scholarship at that point in time. I applied for it simultaneously. So during those times, I would really like to share with everyone listening that I used to work full-time with UBL, which is very regular job. And because I was in training, so I was training the entire North region. I was traveling a lot, starting from Jhelum. And then I sometimes used to go out of Pakistan, even to Afghanistan, Kabul as well. So I was doing, a lot of traveling and sessions. I was going to Karachi South as well, because I was interacting with the team there. Then my father was in CCU mostly. So after work, I used to go to hospital most of the times, and other doctors as in specialists, just to try our best that how we can save him. On top of that, because I was financially supporting my family, and my father's illness was taking a lot out of our pockets, and my mother and I were the only ones working at that point in time, because my father was already retired, and already he's bedridden, like almost bedridden at that point in time. So I was doing extra work. So again, that period of time, 2008 to 2009, I had to continue with my a routine of 19 to 20 hours per day working, and then going back to hospital, and then returning back to home at 1 a.m. at night, then working on my Fulbright application until 3 a.m. at night, and then waking up again at 6:30 or 7 a.m. ish, and then going to office, and repeating this circle altogether. So I would just like to highlight this, because yes, it sounds very I would say sexy to people. Oh, that she has an MBA there, she was an engineer, and then she was able to get Fulbright. But I want to focus on the journey which I took, and the type of support which I was giving to my family rather than taking their support, and financially and otherwise. And then on top of that, the type of hard work which I had to put. And also, just to conclude that journey towards my Fulbright, when I was going through the final interview phases of my Fulbright, because it takes, that Fulbright is an open merit scholarship in Pakistan. And out of our entire population who applies for that scholarship, only 100 or 130 individuals get selected. Out of those 130 to 140 individuals, 30 to 40 are for PhDs, and 90 to 100 are for masters. So I was very fortunate to get selected, and that too for a business school, because business is not a priority area for Fulbright. So when I went for my final interview, my father was in hospital. I was coming out of a chicken pox at that point in time. I had a fractured foot and I had a 10 kgs old style plaster on my leg, because I was working so much that I got a stress fracture, and that converted into multiple hairline fractures. And I had 2 crutches, and I went all by myself without any family member, without any support, taking cabs for my Fulbright scholarship. And when I reached there, like even the entire panel for the Fulbright interview session, they were like, you could have rescheduled it. And I was so crazy in my head that I told them, no, it's like really important for me, and I didn't want to reschedule it. And after my Fulbright interview, I went to office, and then same routine going back to hospital to my father. Unfortunately, by the time I got my Fulbright, that was the last good news my father could hear. And in early 2010, to be specific, it's start of February 2010, my father passed away. So that was a very difficult time for our family. I already had my Fulbright scholarship. My father passed away. And as I mentioned earlier, that me and my mother were the only ones supporting the family at that point in time financially. All my siblings were in school. So I asked my mother, everyone told, I got a recent promotion at UBL, and I was earning really well. And everyone, like my family, of course, emotionally was not in an optimal phase either because of my father's passing away. So everyone in my extended family told me that, oh no, you are very inconsistent. You shouldn't go and leave your family behind and leave Pakistan at this point in time. And I actually talked to my mother separately, and I asked her that whether I should or not. And she actually said at that point in time that you worked really hard for this. My family never knew about Fulbright until I got it, because they were not in favor of it. Finally, when I got it, my father was very proud of it, and my mother was very proud of it as well. So then she said that you should go and we will manage somehow. But it was not about, just leaving the family emotionally, but also because I was financially supporting them. So finally, how it happened that despite the fact that I was earning pretty good amount at that point in time, I left Pakistan with $250 in my pocket and gave all my savings to my mother so that my siblings can continue their education and everything. And that's how I landed for the first time internationally, leaving Pakistan in US. And that was my journey up till Fulbright. I would really like to, before I continue further in the journey, highlight some of the people who really supported me throughout that period. Some of my professors, specifically Sir Fazle Mukim, thank you so much for writing my reference letters and supporting me during that period of time, and also introducing me to the world of training and development and to all your corporate clients. Thanks a lot to all my UBL team, Tehseen Saab, Silvina, Malik Sahab, Shahid, all of you have been phenomenal support during my father's illness, during my job, during my Fulbright applications, even after when my father passed away. If you guys wouldn't have supported me, probably I wouldn't be able to manage all these things. So I will take a pause here and I would let you ask her the questions.
I am speechless, Sumaiya. I've always thought that, I mean, I never imagined even when I asked you for this, I knew you had an inspiring story, but struggle to this extent, I did not know that. And thank you, seriously. I don't know what to say except to, well, thank you for sharing it with us. And oh my God, I want everyone, every girl who is listening, that please know this. If you have dreams and if you want to work for it, make your life better. Go for them. Your life is in your hands, and I know it is easier said than done. While I'm saying it, I'm just considering that how many challenges Sumaiyya went through. I probably would not have been. I would have given up after my undergrad. That's it. I would not have done it. She did it, and this is super amazing. And of course, saying that go for your dreams, go and work hard and whatnot, much easier said than done, but it is being done. So please, I would say step up and do and improve your life and make your life better. Get inspired. Thank you, Sumaiyya, for sharing this much with us. Thank you
It's
so
my
much.
privilege. Thanks a lot, Kiran. So with that, then I will continue quickly from my Fulbright journey to my, good days when I started like having that type of international career, which I always dreamt of. With Fulbright, when I landed in US with those $250 in my pocket, I didn't have any family. I didn't have any friends in US, but I met some really awesome people right from the day one in US. Fulbright treated us like kings and queens there. So I have a huge respect for the Fulbright program, because for people like us who don't have the financial support or family support to have international education, and I was very fortunate to went to one of the highly ranked university in US and also globally. So I think I would give a lot of credit to Fulbright program in Pakistan and all over the world. It's one of the most prestigious scholarships in US and all over the world. And I was very fortunate to get it. So I started meeting like people from all over the world, the type of diversity which I always dreamt of and which I always valued, and I still value to this day. I started my school, and the journey was pretty awesome because I came up with almost 2.5 years of experience. And when you go to business school again, I did my MS in business strategy and strategic HR from Purdue University. And it was a pretty awesome experience because Purdue University is the second most diverse university in US. And I had classmates or batchmates from all over the world: India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Thailand, Philippines, European countries, South American countries, African countries, Americans, North Americans. So it was like pretty awesome experience overall, apart from studies. And as I told you earlier, that I'm a very social person, and I give a lot of focus to the cultural activities and the social activities along with studies as well. So if I keep it very short, I mean, I was very fortunate that I was able to graduate in the top 10% of my class on roll of honor. I would say that apart from the degree or apart from the education, which I am not, saying that is not useful or has not been helpful throughout my career, but much more than that, I highly valued the type of people I met there, the type of people I get an opportunity to study with, to interact with, to work with, and the type of connections and networks which I have made because of my Fulbright and because of my batchmates, and the type of opportunities which Fulbright has given me. So one of the highlights, for example, Fulbright has given me the opportunity to come and to Washington, D.C. and speak to representative of almost 147 countries and present some of the social and innovation projects to them. And our team, I was the one representing our team, and our team actually won the second prize out of those 147 countries. So, I mean, those were the type of opportunities which I'm very thankful and very fortunate to have through Fulbright as well as through Purdue University. I made some really lifelong friendships and networks there. I was still in school, and I got IBM reached out to me, and they wanted me to be part of their internship program. So through Fulbright, it's not a very easy process to get an internship, and that too in US, because Fulbright doesn't allow you to do internships. So that was a different struggle. I actually took a very special permissions or exceptions from the US State Department, and I finally get to the IBM internship because going to a business school and wasting your summers didn't make sense in my head. And that was a challenging period of time financially, because I was using my Fulbright stipend to support, to accumulate it somehow to support my family later on, because I still had, a family back home. And then at the same time, when Fulbright stopped my stipend just because they thought that I'm doing an internship for money, because of course IBM was paying me for that internship. So I moved to New York for my internship, and all the money which I had, I paid my rent in New York in advance, and I had nothing for 1.5, almost 1 month until I get my full first salary from IBM. So it was a pretty challenging period of time when I moved, but some of my friends, and I will mention them later on, were really supportive, and they helped me a lot. From there, I would just like to say that I was very fortunate to work at IBM headquarters in Ahmed. I got an opportunity to work with some of the smartest and most respectful people in the world. I have learned a lot from them. I got an opportunity to work on real life projects, and I presented it towards end of my internship to not only the CHRO or the executive team of IBM, but also to 17 17 VPs and SVPs. That was a very challenging but very exciting opportunity. And based on my performance during that internship and that presentation, IBM actually offered me to join their HR leadership development program, which is a program for high leadership potential individuals. And at any given point in time across the globe, throughout IBM 170 or 180 geographies, only 30 to 35 individuals get selected for that program. So I was one of those fortunate individuals. From there, my career took a like really good turn. And that's why IBM will always have a very special place in my career. Not that after that, I didn't have awesome opportunities, but that was the point when I started learning how to interact with global clientele, global teammates, how to present yourself, how to brand yourself. So there was a lot of learning going on, and there were a lot of people to support me, from executives to my peers and to juniors and to my reports as well. I total had 3 global roles at IBM, which means that covering all 170 and 180 geographies of IBM. I had then final and last role at IBM, which was a regional role, and I was looking after their technology mergers and acquisitions for an Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa region. So it was pretty exciting. I got to work in different locations during that time, including North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, and then Middle East and Africa finally. And during that time, my career was going pretty well with IBM, but then, life happens, and my maternal aunts, which were very close to me, and they used to stay with us. First, initially, I was still in US doing my studies, and one of them got diagnosed with breast cancer in 2011. And then she passed away in 2014. That was a very challenging time for our family because I had to focus on my career, but I'm someone who cannot leave family either. So taking care of a cancer patient along with a full-time career was not an easy job, and was very painful emotionally as well, not only physically. Then by 2016, my youngest maternal aunt, she got diagnosed with liver cancer, and then she passed away within 3 months. It was a very challenging phase for my family overall. My mother went into depression after that. One of my sister was already not feeling well, and was a very challenging time. I had to leave IBM, move back to Pakistan. At that point in time, I again got fortunate that Telenor reached out to me without even applying, and I accepted an offer there. It was not something which was pretty much aligned with my career trajectory, but it was a very good opportunity in terms of some of the projects and in terms of the compensation and everything. So I accepted it. It lasted for a relatively shorter period of time because I had to focus more on the family. And I was, as I said, that I have always been someone who was not only focusing on my dreams or my careers or having fun, but also taking care of the family simultaneously. So I was involved, like taking care of family property issues, taking care of my mother's health, my sister's health, then renovating our entire house. So quite a lot of things. So then I started, I was actually teaching at NUST at that point in time, both MBA and EMBA classes. And that was not my way of doing career, or rather it was my way of paying forward that whatever little I know, I wanted to share it or pass it on to, other people. And because then Dean of NBS was one of my old professors. They really liked my performance there, and my feedback was pretty positive. And they asked me to join them full time. So I continued with them for a year, in a full-time basis, teaching MBA and EMBA. And most of the students for the EMBA are professionals with 5+ years of experience. So it was a mutual learning experience because yes, I was elevating their careers by teaching them, but I was also learning a lot from them because they were professionals as well. They were not fresh graduates coming out of bachelors or things like that. In the meanwhile, I got a very good opportunity as head of HR and transformation with a prop tech company. It was a group of 10 companies. 2 companies are based in UK and 8 companies are based in Pakistan. And I was heading the HR and transformation for the entire group. That was a pretty exciting opportunity. I accepted it and I worked there until end of 2018. And by that time, because I was delaying my move to Canada because of family reasons, my mother's health, my house renovation, and a lot of other things. My sister's health. So by that time, I finally decided that this long impending move to Canada should happen. And in December 2018, I moved to Canada. During this journey, I would really like to give a loud shout out to a lot of people who actually helped me. So starting from Mohan Datta, Debulina Datta, who like made my journey from day one in US by just meeting me as a random professor. Awesome. And now they are like second family to me. Then Sarag, my very close friend, and he helped me a lot. Then a lot of my batchmates, specifically, I would like to highlight Iyad Yaqub. He helped me then. We are still in touch, and he has always been a very supportive batchmate, supportive colleague. So I would also like to give a lot of credit to Linda Salamari from IBM, Kevin Sullivan, Lisa Black, Lisa. And then I would also like to highlight that some of my managers like Seth Hollander was phenomenal in my career. And then some of my colleagues like Jonathan DeGraff, and then Tava and Mayokun, then Khushbu Pagarani. So all these people have, if they wouldn't have been there as my support during my academic and professional journey, I probably wouldn't have achieved what I have been able to achieve, despite my continuous family challenges and two very close and loved members passing away during that time because of cancer. My mother went going into depression, and fulfilling all those financial, but not only financial, other type of responsibilities as well. And, going to whatnot, police stations and courts, and in the meanwhile, filing for my immigration. So it was a very challenging time of my life. And when I look back now, I think I have learned a lot from that time. So now I will take a pause and I will let you ask any further questions.
I'm kind of saving my questions for the end, but once again, Sumaiyya, what an inspiring journey. As I have said before, thank you for taking the time to share it with us. Here, if you don't mind me asking, so how did you feel, that you can just give me a very short answer, like how did you feel like the move from US when you had to go back to Pakistan? And I want to know I know there are so many things, but like personally, deep inside your heart, what was going through? Like, can you highlight your emotions over here? Like it was your dream to work globally, which you achieved through some really hard work. I would say it was not it wasn't handed to you on silver platter, as I said before. You worked your ass off to get it. And then you took this big step of going to Pakistan so you can be closer to your family. That is huge. And like I know we all talk about, please don't talk about family responsibility. I don't want, we all know it was there. Don't talk about your good times in Pakistan. We all know it was there. I want you to focus on your feeling. Like what was going in your heart at that point in time? That is what I want to know. Just in a very few lines, but I know it must be a conflict of emotions, and that is something I was hoping you can talk about.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Kiran, for asking such a, I would say, intimate question. So in terms of my feelings, I had some wonderful experiences in US. US will always be very close to my heart because that's the country who has not even it has fulfilled my dream of international education. But US is the reason that I was able to fulfill my dream of a global career. And usually when people hear now, they think, oh, you're very lucky. Well, it was a hard journey, but I give a lot of credit to Fulbright and US again, that I was able to work across 4 continents and with teams across all 7 continents, and sometimes working with them and sometimes leading them. But in terms of my emotions, I was a bit sad. It was a combination because I didn't want to leave everything which I worked so hard to gain. And at that point in time, when I finally made my move back to Pakistan, I was not actually based in US. I was based in Dubai at that point in time because I was moving around the globe. But of course, I mean, I could have moved to Canada or US at that point in time, but I couldn't because I had this family situation going back home. But at the same time, I was partially, just like always, I'm a very optimistic person. Even in the hardest or most challenging times when everybody is telling me that that's not feasible, you cannot do it, you cannot achieve it, in my head, either I'm stubborn or either I'm very optimistic. I don't know. Like I always keep on thinking why it cannot happen. Maybe it cannot happen right away, but it would happen some point in time. So partially in my head, I was excited in a way that I will actually would be able to be closer to my family before I finally move back again to North America. So that was the positive aspect of it. I was thinking that my mother needs me right now because she is like, if she, God forbid, if she would not be there tomorrow, what will happen to my family? So that was a top priority for me. So that was the positive aspect, despite that sadness of leaving career or everything for which I have worked so hard. On top of that, I was thinking about certain projects because I always think I'm a very result oriented person. So I always think about projects. I was like, I have to renovate my family house. Otherwise, my siblings and my mother would not be able to live in that for long because my father has constructed it a long time back and I have to give them a comfortable living before I finally move back to North America. So I was thinking on those lines. And then finally, one thing which probably I missed throughout my journey, I have always been a very passionate and patriotic Pakistani. So no matter wherever I live in the world, I have a strong love and passion for Pakistan and its development. Even when before my Fulbright period, when I was in Pakistan, I actually was teaching underprivileged children along with all my struggles on weekends. So I actually taught to underprivileged or street children for 2 years. And I established a food network with the restaurants for the suburbs or slums of Rawalpindi and Islamabad. And I used to provide them food on weekly basis. So I was just thinking that I will move back to Pakistan and I would be able to pay back in certain ways, which I was able to in form of, teaching at NUST, relaying or transmitting or, finally transferring that knowledge, whatever little I knew, to the other people. So that was the emotion. So it was a mixed emotion. I wouldn't say that I was all sad. I was like, it was a mix of an emotion. And then finally, like, because I knew that I have to move back to North America, which I made in December 2018.
Well, thank you, Sumaiyya, for it was a very personal question. I wasn't sure if I should ask or not.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm glad that you asked. I'm happy to share.
Yeah, but there was an ulterior motive behind this question because everyone sees ups and downs in their lives, and people, when a moment like this comes, and people, it makes them upset, it makes them sad, and I think your story, your answer gives them hope that there is always a plus point. There is
There is always a silver lining.
Not just light at the end of tunnel, but you have managed to find, I would say, glowing crystals within the dark tunnel as well, which is pretty amazing. And this is why I wanted you to answer this question. So thank you for that. You know what? I will let you have the platform, and you can talk for the third part of your journey now.
Okay. Thank you, Kiran. So with that, I would just like to focus a little bit on my journey when I immigrated to Canada without any family and friends. So unlike many Pakistanis, or especially because we are in March, and you asked me to focus on the female aspect of it, because Women's Day is coming, or March anyways is a women's month. Anyways, all months should be women's month. But I would say that March is specifically. So I would like to focus that for Pakistani females or many South Asian females, it's not that common that they move without family or without getting married or without friends. But I made that move as well, without any family support or any support from anyone here in Canada. As expected, that journey was challenging, but it was a bit more challenging as I expected it to be, because first of all, it was not a new thing for me. I have been working and globally and moving to all those countries and continents all by myself, setting up my life there from ground up. So I was pretty used to it. So I thought that I'm not doing something new. I would be able to manage it. But then every country, as you know, is unique, and that's there are a lot of external factors which we cannot control, and they definitely impact our journeys. So Canada is a unique country. It has unique circumstances. My journey here was unique. It was challenging, but I would still say that, as I always look at things in a learning way, I went through extremely hard times in Canada. Professionally as well as personally, but that was a learning experience. What all I would like to say that, especially again coming to the point that very few people were here who were willing to connect initially, who were willing to support, who were willing to even listen that what I have gone through. And then, as I said, that every country is unique. So Canada has this challenge that it accepts a lot of immigrants from all over the world. Those immigrants come from with varying profiles in different categories. And sometimes all of us as human beings have this tendency to generalize things or to paint everyone with a single brush. So I think that in Canada, that is a bit of a challenge, that people assume, or many Canadians assume, that every immigrant who's coming here is not worthy of the jobs here or is not capable enough. But I have been working globally. I have really had a progressive career before coming to Canada. I had a North American education. I have worked in North America. I had actually worked in Canada back in 2016 with IBM. So I would just like to highlight that, yes, it was very challenging, but I would also like to say that I met awesome people during my journey. It was not easy, people like yourself. And I would like to, of course, name a few people towards the end of it as well. But then finally, like I went to a phase that financially it was very hard for me to sustain. And people, because my family is not in a position to support me, I am their supporter. And not only financially, but when you go through so much trauma and so much professional struggles and personal struggles, finally it starts affecting you psychologically and emotionally as well. So very downtime, I would really like to thank some of the people, and I would name them towards the end, who actually stood by my side. But many of the people who I thought that were my friends or my well-wishers decided to leave just because I was struggling to find my place in Canada, specifically the job market, which I think that most of the immigrants go through. The message which I would like to give through this platform to the Canadians, that I think, as I mentioned earlier, all of us have the tendency to generalize and paint everyone with a single brush. I think that's not right. So each case is unique, each individual is unique, each journey is unique. So you should be more open to give those opportunities and be more willing to listen, because if you will not listen or if you will not meet individuals, you will not know what they can bring to the table. And to all the immigrants, that please, Canadians are very nice in certain ways, that they're accepting a lot of immigrants so open-heartedly from all over the world. So it's your responsibility as well, that as an immigrant, when you reach a certain goal in your either professional life or a personal life, or you achieve something, share it with all the Canadians. And share it with all the newcomers or new immigrants as well. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't think in your head that because I went through such a hard time, I should be giving this hard time to other people as well. I don't think so. That's the right way of approaching life. Rather, my approach to life has been like this, that if I have went through this hard time, so how can I make opportunities, or at least if I cannot make opportunities because of my human limitations, how can I make it easier for other individuals so that they don't have to go through those hard times or those challenges which I have gone through? So if we have that lens or that type of intention in life, I think that takes us to better places in the longer run, rather than just becoming bitter and just saying that if I have gone through so many challenges, so let others pass through those challenges as well. And people told me at certain point in time, despite my 21 years of education, my 12 plus years of progressive experience, oh, in Canada you will never get a professional job. There were instances when I have been told by the industry people that you would never be able to successful in Canada, but I was able to. It was a very challenging journey. I got my first opportunity with a small social enterprise in Toronto. I got my second opportunity, where I'm working right now, and I'm leading talent and transformation for a North American fintech company for both US and Canada. So it's pretty exciting. And this is just the beginning of my journey in Canada. I'm looking forward to further opportunities. So having said that, I know that we're approaching towards end of our assigned time. I would just like to highlight some of the people who have helped me throughout my journey in Canada. So I would like to start with Wanda Hudak, she has been phenomenal support throughout my journey in Canada. Then Padmini Ayosala, she was one of the very few individuals who actually believed in me, who actually talked to me and listened to me when I was looking for those jobs and I didn't have that title and I was a new immigrant. I would like to highlight Sarah Farooq Said from NUST Canada platform. You have been really a great, huge support. Iyad Yaqub again. Then Ehsan Rahman from US, he was my IBM colleague as well. Hassan Masood, he was again my IBM colleague. And then I would also like to give a huge shout out to Sarah Yousafzai. She's one of my mentors, one of my confidant for last 11 years. Given that she herself is like a CXO level professional, I never felt that type of distance or difference between us when I was sharing my journey with her, and her willingness to support me. And then once again, I would like to give a huge thank you to everyone who has been part of my journey, my current employer, my previous employer, and people who supported me. I would also like to thank to those people who actually doubted me right from the beginning and who were very rude to me, because probably if they would have not done that, I wouldn't have tried this harder. So with that, I would just like to close it, and I would pass it on to you, and probably if we can share 3 or 4 takeaways from this conversation. So if we'll have a couple of more minutes, I would like to share those.
Yes, please, Sumaiya. We do have a few more minutes, and I would love it if you can, share, as you said, a few takeaways or nuggets from your entire experience. I know your entire experience, the life you have led, it cannot be summarized in just a few golden nuggets. But if you can give me just, a few sentences, a few takeaways from different phases of your journey, that would be really good for all of our audiences. So please do.
Sure. So for everyone, I would like to say that never underestimate yourself, and never think that your challenges or your baggages, whether those are financial, social, or any other type, because throughout my life, I have been told many times that you cannot do certain things because you're a female. You know that, like, sometimes patriarchy acts there, and I have been told many times that you won't be able to achieve it because you are from not a very well off family or from a humble background. But don't take those answers or define your journey or define your goals, because in my head I always questioned, why not I be able to achieve this or that just because you're saying it? People usually don't have bad intentions, but they are coming from the way they have experienced life or they have seen it, and they have certain limitations in their head, and they think that if they were unable to achieve it, or if that has not been achieved so far, so someone else won't be able to achieve it. So to everyone, but specifically people who are coming from, regardless of gender, both males and females, coming from humble backgrounds, coming from challenging family backgrounds, with challenging family situations or personal situations or professional situations, never doubt yourself, believe in yourself, put your heart and soul in whatever you do, and trust me, there would be a lot of downtimes, but if you would be persistent, you will achieve it. Now again, my second takeaway would be for females specifically, because we are in March and Women's Day is approaching very fast. I would like to this is not a takeaway, this is a humble request as well, because I don't think so I'm in a position to give some advice to someone, but it's a humble request that I have seen throughout my career, that there were men and women, both male and females, who have supported me immensely. But then I also see a general trend that women and girls somehow are unable to support each other practically and are not willing to pick each other up. This is very heart wrenching for me, because men have been doing it for centuries, and that's why they have been able to achieve more. It's not because they have more talents. I mean, both men and women have equal talents. They are equal when it comes to intellect. They are equal when it comes to emotional strength. Actually, science has proven it that women has more emotional strength and stronger decision-making powers. This is science. This is not some social studies. So I would just like to say that the reason I see that women don't achieve as much as men do all over the world, I'm not targeting any specific country here. There are two main reasons. First, that women don't support other women. They don't pick them up for whatever reasons. I don't get it. There are very few women who actually practically support other women. So this is my humble request, that start supporting your own kind more. And I would highly encourage all those men who are already supporting women, but who are not right now supporting women actively, that do support women in your life or women around you, whether they are your daughters, your wives, your sisters, or your colleagues or your friends or your peers. And the reason for that is that gender equality is good for everyone. It transcends beyond a certain gender. And rise of women doesn't mean fall of men. It's a win-win for everyone. So that's my second takeaway. And then my last piece of, I would say, something which I would like to share with everyone, because I don't want to exclude anyone, either men or women. I would just say that you will go through many hard situations in life. People will be thankless of your contributions on a personal level, on a professional level. You will hear a lot of harsh words. You will go through a lot of challenging situations, but that doesn't mean that you should be bitter or you should stop being the awesome person you are. I would highly encourage everyone that regardless of that lack of appreciation, lack of people not being thankful to you for whatever you have done for them, either personally or professionally, never ever lose the good part in you. Always try to be that good human being, because in the end, it's all about your personal karma. I strongly believe in that. What goes comes around. So always be that giving person, regardless of the fact that if somebody is appreciating it or not appreciating it. I know at times it's even hard for me. It's extremely emotionally draining. But I always try to think in these lines, that if somebody is not leaving their bad habits because of my good habits, why should I leave my goodness just because of their badness or whatever negativity they are trying to influence me with? So those are my top 3 takeaways. And thank you once again, Kiran, for reaching out, for giving me this opportunity, for having me today. Thanks a lot to NUSTian Canada. This is an awesome platform. All of us together can make it better. And a very happy Women's Day, upcoming Women's Day to all the females in my life and in general. And a happy Women Month as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumaiyya. Thank you so much for joining us today. And well, NUSTian Canada community, I have one short message for all of you. Sumaiyya is amazing, and also she's not the only one that we have. We have a line of some amazing women in NUSTian Canada. So we will be doing a series on them, and stay tuned. But of course, as Sumaiyya said, 1 month is not enough. So we will spread it throughout the year, and I will keep on introducing you to people like Sumaiyya, who have worked hard for what they have got, what they have achieved. So stay tuned for that. And once again, I cannot tell you from the very bottom of my heart and from the entire board of directors and our executive body and our volunteers, Sumaiyya, thank you so much. And this was amazing. It was an honor and privilege to talk to you and to bring your story to our community.
Thank you so much, Kiran. It was an honor to be with you guys. Thanks a lot, and bye, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Bye.